Alright folks, thanks for joining us again. Sorry it's been a while since we've made a video. I've just kind of been busy with oil changes. So what we got here today is a 2013 GMC with a 6.6 Duramax. The motor code is LML. And we're looking at a pretty common problem today. Basically what's going on is this thing is throwing a check engine light code DTC P21DD. And what that's for is this reductant tank here. There is two heaters inside this thing for low temperature fluid, and the heaters basically heat the fluid up. If you know anything about reductant systems, it's pretty standard on a lot of the trucks. The code itself is basically reductant heater 1, circuit low. Basically has a low voltage issue. We went ahead and already diagnosed that it does need a heater replacement. If you look over here in the cart, you don't actually have to replace the whole entire tank. You can just replace the reservoir itself. It has the heater and the two elements inside. A little hard to see, but it saves you a lot of trouble. And obviously the tank's easier, and a lot of people tell you can do a tank, but this is a lot less money. It's a cheaper fix if you're out of warranty. So we're going to go ahead and start taking this tank down. First, you're going to have to remove this shield. Not all trucks have the shield on them. I believe they didn't start putting the shields on until maybe 13, because I just did an 11 last week and it had no shield on it. So it's 313s on the back, and it just hinges just like a gas tank shield. Alright guys, we got the shield off, and now all we have to do is basically remove these two straps. They're identical to a gas tank strap. You don't really have to bend these out of the way too much. They swing pretty far out this way. So we have those two straps, and then up on top of the tank it's going to be two electrical connectors and a hose clamp for a hose from the DEF fluid solar neck up in the front of the firewall. So we're going to go ahead and remove this tank for you. There's not a whole lot you can see, so once you get the tank down on the ground, then we'll be able to show you all the connections, and we'll go from there. Alright, we got this ring off and got basically the top of this off. You can see there's a seal in here. You want to just go ahead and pull that out. And then the way the rest of the reservoir sits in here is there's basically a lock in the bottom of it. You're just going to go ahead and grab it and twist it, and then it pulls right out. Now, as you notice, obviously I'm wearing gloves like usual, but this is particularly a job you definitely want to wear gloves on. This stuff is pretty potent, and it will definitely cause some serious skin irritation. So we'll take this out, just sit it over here on the floor. We're going to zip this top off here. It's 3 Allen screws, and then get this rest of the way out of the way, and we'll show you the heaters inside. Okay guys, we got our old reservoir apart, and basically we got a new reservoir here. Inside you can see the heaters. Pretty much they give you everything to rebuild this thing. You got a new vent, new bolts, seal for the vent, and then seal for this hole up here. This is where your basically your control bolts to the top. That little guy right there. They give you a new seal. Pretty much we recommend, so you're not fighting yourself, dropping the seal down in first and then actually installing the reservoir back in. You're going to notice the tabs on the bottom of this. This is where they basically lock into the bottom of the reservoir. You can see that these two here are a lot closer than all the other ones. Basically that gives you a direction as to looking in a tank. If you lose sight of where it goes, then you drop it down in and lock it. We're going to go ahead and assemble all this and then get it back together. We got our reservoir installed. Earlier before we did this, we showed you that seal, how we like to usually put it in the tank and then put the reservoir in. You might find sometimes more often than none that once you go to install the reservoir and get it down in there far enough and lock it, that the seal permits you from basically turning the reservoir. So with a little finesse, you can actually just put your seal down in, drop the reservoir in, pull your seal up, and then your reservoir will move a lot more freely, and you still have the room to get the seal down in around. We got our new ring installed. We installed the new row ring. They come with the kit, and we're going to install the vent. We recommend putting the reservoir and stuff in first, and the ring on. That way you're not dealing with this in your way, you know, trying to get the ring on, working around that. Plus, you know, this vent's not hard to put in, but it's just basically more stable, you know, so you can push on it instead of sitting there trying to do it on the floor where it's flimsy. Install a vent and then the filter on the end of the vent. And like I said, the O-ring's already installed. So already set the control back on top. Basically only goes on one way. And then we're going to install our new screws. Alright, so basically, one thing I want to mention is, this is more or less for all the flat rate guys out here, is you notice how there's basically only 2 wires on this control, and there's that whole mess right there. Obviously, you don't have to take all that off. We just wanted to demonstrate where pretty much all the connections were. That way, if you ever had to service any of these other harnesses, they would be okay. So we're going to go ahead and get this bolted down, transfer our wires on, and we'll be ready to install.
Alright, we got the reservoir and tank all in. Now what we want to do is go ahead and clear the code. Then you also want to go in and do a pressure test on the reductant system to make sure there's no leaks. I'm going to go down here. Special functions. Output control. Go down to the reductant system. Go down here to the F6 leak test. And you command it on. Just watch the pressure. Should shoot up pretty high. 500 or so, and leave it on for a couple minutes and look around the vehicle and make sure there's no reductant fluid leaking on the floor. Okay, we had it on for a while, inspected, there's no leaks. Then you go and turn this test off, exit out. In some cases, poor def quality message will be on the dash. In our case it is not, but if you do have something like that, you can't just clear the code, you have to go through a fluid quality test, which is right here in special functions. You want to go into that, and this could take up to like an hour to do. So luckily for us, we don't have to do it. But that will go through kind of like a regen. So just in case you ever have something like that. So now we're just going to test drive the vehicle and make sure it's all good.